It is 13 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African time. If you have just joined us, thank you so much for choosing us over the rest. African Diaries, indeed. And it's time for us to talk about this upcoming networking soiree. It's an exclusive one with one objective: to connect markets and to build the diaspora together. Now, in a rapidly shifting global economy, growth no longer belongs to those who operate in isolation. It belongs to those who collaborate across borders, across spaces, across histories, and of course, across lived experiences. Joining us this evening to unpack what the soiree will be about is Maria Lloyd, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Black with No Chaser, but also an author. And I want to talk about that book titled Words Are Wealth. Maria, thank you so much for joining us in studio. Welcome to African Diaries.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Maria, let's start off with just giving definition to Black with No Chaser. We talked about it off air, but for those who are saying, I haven't heard of the organization before, give me context.
Yeah, so Black with No Chaser was founded off of social justice and advocacy. And basically what happened is we had a teen boy by the name of Trayvon Martin who was tragically murdered by a white guy without any probable cause whatsoever. And despite all of the evidence pointing to this guy just basically being on some kind of manhunt for, killing a Black child, he was able to walk away free. What was tragic, though, as if that wasn't tragic enough, even more tragic was the fact that the media chose to select an image of Trayvon that was very stereotypical in terms of it being considered like a thuggish image. And so there were other images of this young boy. There were images of him graduating. There were images of him being a smaller, child. But for some reason, the media selectively chose to find the image that was more on the, again, rough side, what most white Americans would consider to be like a thug type image. And so our co-founder and CEO, CJ Lawrence, who's an attorney by trade, he noticed this bias in the media reporting about Trayvon's life, them trying to demonize him in favor of trying to vindicate his murderer. And so what he did is he posted an image of himself on Twitter. One image was him holding some liquor bottles at a party. The other one was him wearing his cap and gown, graduating with his Juris Doctorate to become an attorney. And then with that, he created a hashtag, pound if they gunned me down, basically saying if he were gunned down, the media would choose to portray the image of him holding the liquor bottles at a party as opposed to the image of him graduating with his Juris Doctorate. And so that went completely viral. It took off. CJ was listed on Time magazine's like most influential persons for the year. And so that kind of birthed Black with No Chaser. But more specifically, the name Black with No Chaser, what does that mean? It means that we are authentically Black. We're unapologetically Black. We are not code switching. We're not going to dilute ourselves to make other people feel comfortable about themselves. We are who we are. And that's why we say Black with No Chaser, because when you go to a bar and they ask you, do you want that shot with juice? In the U.S., we would say, do you want that with a chaser? So we're saying we are no chaser. We are Black with no chaser. And so, that's who we are. And that's how we came here.
Thank you so much for the context, especially the chaser end. I want to talk about experiencing being Black, right, in the States.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I think James Baldwin said it best when he said that, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but to be Black in America is to be in a state of rage every day. And I think that is a perfect way to describe the Black American experience. You are constantly being gaslit into believing that your oppression is not as bad as it seems. One of the rebuttals that we often hear is, my God, you guys had Obama. What else do you want? You had a Black president. What do you want? As if having a Black president after 400 plus years of oppression somehow wipes away all of that, the racism, the systemic injustice, and so on and so forth. So, I would have to say, to paraphrase the late, great James Baldwin, is to be Black in America is to live in a constant state of rage. You almost have to be a bit delusional to believe that I can do anything despite all of these factors that are against me. And it's very intentional. I can still do and be anything I want to be.
And how do you connect to Africa? as Americans?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I
Yeah.
feel like it's very fragmented, right? Like for myself, the way that I connect to the continent is through the music. I see a lot of similarities in our music, of course, our features, and even the way that we communicate with one another. We may not even speak the same language all the time, but the way that African people communicate amongst one another, I found is very unique. I wish I could say that most Black Americans share this same kind of understanding of Africans and Black Americans and how we have a lot of similarities. But the truth is, there has been a concerted effort to keep us kind of, fragmented. And so the narrative that we often hear, and I still hear this from a lot of my colleagues and stuff back in the States, is those people don't like us. And I'm like, what people? Be specific. Who are you talking about? Because
Yeah.
I'm literally over here building with so-called Africans. And let's we need to unpack that too. Who are Africans? Africa is
Yeah.
a continent. So, some Black Americans, unfortunately, have been so conditioned and brainwashed by mainstream American media that they honestly believe we're not wanted here. And so it breaks my heart because I know that that is literally just not true. I mean, for me, it has been nothing but love from the moment I first visited this continent, and South Africa was my first country in 2015. It has been nothing but pure love. So
Yeah.
I can't relate to that. And my mission, my personal mission, is to help Black Americans see, like, don't believe this American narrative that we're not liked, that those people don't like us. It's an us versus them. No, that is false. It is created by the American propaganda machine, and we can completely abolish that message and collaborate and work together.
And that's why you join us this evening. So I love
Yes.
that.
Yes.
The voice there of Maria Lloyd, who is an author of the book Words Are Wealth, but also the Chief Marketing Officer at Black with No Chaser. And we're talking that exclusive networking soiree. A quick breather. When we get back, we get into the thicket of it. 22 minutes after 11 p.m. Central Africa time, we are discussing the exclusive networking soiree, and we're looking at this carefully curated event that connects professionals from South Africa and professionals from America as well, with a shared goal to exchange intellectual, social, and venture capital. And we're going to be finding out in which ways these are plausible, possible, if you will. And joining us in studio is the author of Words Are Wealth, that is Maria Lloyd, as well as the Chief Marketing Officer at Black with No Chaser. Black with No Chaser is responsible for this exclusive networking soiree. Maria, we sort of ended off there on a rather a tight note, right? Just giving context and leeway to why South Africa and America needs to connect and hold hands. Let's talk about your stay here in South Africa. You said you've been here since 2015, or traveling to and fro since 2015. You've experienced nothing but joy and goodness. And what then incentivized you to join an initiative that says, listen, let's hold hands, not just in the form of support, but building together, and sort of seeing each other grow in aspects?
I think if we're being honest with ourselves, we can tell that the West is clearly crumbling economically. There is a lot of debt that is accumulating, and I'll speak specifically as it relates to the United States. Our student loan debt has outpaced our medical debt. And also we've got, credit card debt that is like ballooning. I mean, so the economy is literally like on the fringes. I mean, it's going to collapse at some point. And so on the other side of that, though, is you've got Africa. And I'm going to specifically say Africa collectively as a continent, because Africa is poised to have the youngest population in the world, which is very essential as you're thinking about the labor market. Whereas in the United States, for example, our president is scrambling, trying to find ways to incentivize women having babies, because we're just not having children in the United States. The costs are exorbitant. For Black women in particular, we are number one to die giving birth to children in the United States. We have the highest mortality rate. There is no incentive whatsoever for Black American women to have babies in the United States, none whatsoever. And so the West is scrambling. And I'll speak again more specifically to the United States. So to go from being here as a tourist to being here as an advocate for business is really rooted in the data. And the data is very clear. Africa is the future. Africa has always had everything we needed. When I spoke at an event during the G20 summit in Joburg last year, I specifically brought up how the reason why we're able to use our cell phones, which is arguably one of the most powerful tools in our possession, is because of cobalt mining in the Congo. The reason why we can enjoy our delicious chocolate treats is because of the cocoa beans coming out of Cote d'Ivoire as well as Ghana. The reason why we're able to commute via our cars and the catalytic converters come from the platinum that's mined here in South Africa. So Africa has always had everything we need. The DRC, for example, the Democratic Republic of Congo, is the richest nation in the entire world when it comes to natural resources. But yet their economic situation doesn't mirror that. Why? It's because the West has always interfered. And I think now there's an awakening, and that awakening is Black Americans in particular are starting to see, guys, this narrative that we have been pushed about Africa, where you're looking at children with flies on their face and you always associate this continent with poverty, is just not true. And so for me personally, as I mentioned before the break, I feel like I have a mission to get as many Black Americans to understand that this is home. This is home. We didn't choose to be over there. We were forced to be over there. I was born American, but I'm African at heart, always have been. And so I feel like my mission is to get more Black Americans to understand that we can leverage our United States currency. We can leverage credit to build here, where there is ample opportunity and the resources are already existing. It's just that we need to come and collaborate and strategize with our fellow brothers and sisters. So that's kind of how that transition happened for me. Yeah. I started looking at the data and I'm like, yeah, the West is crumbling. I don't want to be a part of this sinking ship.
Let's talk about the Exclusive Networking Soirée.
Yes.
Right. How, when, what are we doing? How are we orchestrating this meetup?
Okay, yeah. So it's happening on Thursday, January 22nd. And, you know, really this was built out of Black with No Chaser. We organized our first international group tour. And we specifically selected South Africa as the first country, our first international market to explore with our people, because South Africa is our #1 market outside of the United States. So Black with No Chaser reaches about 3.5 to 4 million people per month through social media. We also have a very robust email list of almost 20,000 subscribers. And so, like I mentioned, South Africa is our biggest market outside of the United States. So with this event, it was just something that we baked into the tour, the itinerary that we have for our group that will actually be here tomorrow night. Super excited about welcoming them here. And so the whole point is really to exchange and to build social capital, intellectual capital, and venture capital. Those are the 3 very powerful sources of wealth. That's how we can collectively become wealthy as a people, by sharing those resources. And so, yeah, of course, I can't share too many more details because it is exclusive.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, we have curated a group of folks who we believe will be of mutual benefit to one another with regard to those 3 forms of capital. So, yeah, very excited about that event.
I want to now tap into your book, Words Are Wealth.
Yes.
I think that part of the African struggle is almost this inability to sell self. Right? And I think the first person you're selling to is yourself.
Yes.
And if you aren't able to convince you of your own value, how will you convince the next person? What do you address in this book?
Yeah, so I talk about how literally you can turn words into wealth. So there is a profession called copywriting. And so copywriting is essentially you're a salesperson on paper. So that means that I'm the person who writes words with the intent of selling something, whether that's via a billboard that you see off the interstate, whether that's via an ad that you see in the newspaper, or if it's even an ad in an email that you receive in your inbox. I'm the person who puts those words together to sell something. And so that's essentially what the book is about, how I've been able to use words to help myself and my clients generate wealth through their businesses. I actually share real life examples of emails that generated tons of money. I tell people, hey, use them. Use it for your business. I'm not gatekeeping. You can use my entire strategy. Yeah. And then also Facebook advertising. You know, some people are afraid to invest in paid advertising, but in fact, that is a very quick way for you to scale your business and to get your leads. And so I talk about how you can use words in your advertising on Facebook. And I'm going to throw Instagram in there since Facebook and Instagram work together. I talk about how you can use words in your advertising on Facebook and Instagram to attract your audience and to get the conversions and to make the money. So yeah, at its very like basic level, Words Are Wealth is literally about how you can use words to sell something and convert people.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot because I love doing that. It excites me. So you're going to sell to us Exclusive Network Soirée.
Oh.
Yes, at this very point.
It's like freestyling for marketers.
Yes.
Okay. So the bridge, the Exclusive Networking Soirée, is a curated community of professionals coming from the United States as well as South Africa, with the intent of building social capital, intellectual capital, and of course literal venture capital. And so what everyone can expect when they walk away from this event is to have new contacts, some MOU signed, and some long-term financial gain some way, somehow. So that's my pitch. Thank you for putting me on the spot. I don't know if that was good enough or not. I tell people I'm a good writer. Yeah. I got to write it down. So when I have to go off the dome, it's like, ooh, okay. It's a challenge.
And for those who have heard you and are sold and they're thinking to themselves, I want to be a part of this network.
Yes.
I could be, perhaps I'm based in South Africa, perhaps I'm based in the Congo. What's the next way forward? Because I understand that this event has already been curated. You already know who your attendees are.
Yes.
For the next event, how can they get in?
Yeah, that's a good question, because the next event is definitely happening next year when we bring in our next group of folks who are going to come over to South Africa. So I would say tap into Black with No Chaser for sure. So follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, get on our email list. And as we're promoting the next group tour, definitely just reach out to us and say, hey, I'm in South Africa already. How can I assist? I would love to connect with them. In fact, some of the people who are coming, believe it or not, I did an interview when I was here in May of 2025. I did it with Mark Blanton, who's been an expat here for, I think, 7 or 8 years now, him and his wife and several other family members. And because of his video, I met South Africans. And I mean, I've actually spoken with them and formed relationship with them. And so through those relationships, they referred other people who are actually registered to attend the networking soiree. So yeah, I'm very big on networking, big on that. So yeah, I would say tap in with Black with No Chaser, our network, and just, holler at us. We're very accessible.
And then lastly, what's the vision for Black with No Chaser? And I'm saying this in the context of the African continent, because that's what we addressed, right?
Exactly.
As much as these soirees are happening in South Africa, the idea is to build in Africa so that we can sustain ourselves, build wealth for ourselves. What's the future looking like?
Oh, so the future with Black with No Chaser in Africa is for us to have headquarters here in Johannesburg, which we do. I'm here representing the Johannesburg market now. But also to employ people. With this tour that we've organized, we are stimulating the economy. I mean, we've brought in more than 1 million Rand worth of referrals and business and stuff over the past year and some change. And then even with this group, although it's only 20 plus people, I mean, still the money that they're going to spend on the gifts and the trinkets and the souvenirs and this and that, these are putting money in South Africans' pockets. Yeah. So we want to be able to be in a position where we are stimulating the economy so that more South Africans in particular can be employed, gainfully employed. And of course, take this model and bring it over to a Benin, or take this model and bring it over to a Democratic Republic of Congo, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's the vision for Black with No Chaser.
Maria, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I cannot wait to see what comes out of the soiree this Thursday.
I hope you can join us.
Absolutely. The voice there of the author of Words Are Wealth, as well as the Chief Marketing Officer of Black with No Chaser, that will be hosting that exclusive networking soiree on the 22nd of January 2026. Again, where will this be? I realize that it is exclusive, but you said Sandton.
It will be in Sandton. I don't want to say exactly where, because I don't want anybody to pop up on us. I already gave the time, but it will be in Sandton. It'll be in Sandton. I just don't want anybody popping up.
All right, let's get some music. 35 minutes after 11 p.m. Central Africa time.